Hola, ¿qué tal? Today we're going to discuss two Spanish verbs, saber and conocer. And a little problem is that both of them are translated as to know in English. So what we need to see today is A, how to conjugate them, B, how to use them, because the usage is actually different, because in English you would use to know in both cases, and in Spanish you will have to make an educated choice between saber and conocer. So let's take a look at those verbs. First of all, saber means to know, conocer means to know. And you will need to talk about facts, information, how to do, and also know-how. Things that you learn by heart. You will use the verb saber, and the verb conocer you will use for physical familiarity. People that you're familiar with, places or things. Note that in all of them there is a connotation of physical familiarity with places, things or people. Let's see how they conjugate, as both of them are irregular. The verb conocer is irregular in the first form, so the conjugation goes as following: conozco, conoces, conoce, conocemos, conocéis, conocen. Note that it has the irregular yo form that has to be learned by heart, and there is no logic to it, as it is an irregular verb, so you will need to know that. Let's see how it will work for the verb saber. Saber is also irregular in the yo form, needs to be learned by heart, and the conjugation goes as follows: sé, sabes, sabe, sabemos, sabéis, saben. So please note that the memorization is very important for learning how to conjugate the irregular verbs. Let's see the gray area between saber and conocer. If you say, I know some songs, in English it is not very clear whether you know them by heart or you're just familiar with them a little bit. You've heard them a couple of times. Spanish actually has a way to distinguish those two ideas. Saber you would use if you know a song or something by heart, while conocer you are vaguely familiar with it, you have heard them. So take a look at that case, as in this case actually there is a discerning between two ideas, and saber and conocer allow you to be more exact. Then let's take a look at these characters. You have el pulpo, octopus. You have el camarón, that is a shrimp. You have el pez, which is the fish. Particularly it is a bacalao, which in English is a codfish. And so, if you need to translate that the octopus knows how to cook, would you use saber or conocer? Your train of thought should be el pulpo. El pulpo is cooking. It is a skill. The skill is a know-how or the information. It's not physical familiarity, and therefore you're going to use the verb saber. You're going to use the verb saber because it is really a know-how. But if you want to say that the same pulpo knows codfish, knows bacalao, would you use saber or conocer? It's not the information anymore. It is the physical familiarity. They are acquainted. They know each other. And that's why you're going to use the verb conocer. All right. you would say el pulpo sabe cocinar. El pulpo sabe cocinar. Why? Know how. But you will say él, he, referring to him, to pulpo, conoce al bacalao. Did you use conocer? Yes. Why? Because physical familiarity. Why did you need a in here? Because it's the direct object. He knows someone. If it's alive, then you use a el bacalao. And since he's acquainted with somebody, it's always alive, and then you will need for the direct object that personal a. El is the article because it is el bacalao. All right. Let's see these examples. Mi amigo sabe tocar la guitarra. My friend knows how to play guitar. Would you consider it a physical familiarity or a skill? I'd say it is a skill, and that's why you're going to use saber. Mi amigo sabe tocar la guitarra. El pulpo no sabe bailar. The octopus doesn't know how to dance. Again, we're dealing with a skill because bailar means to dance. Saber is know how, so it is the saber. El pez no conoce España. Is it a skill? Nope. It is a familiarity with a physical place, Spain. So the fish has never been to Spain, is not physically familiar with Spain. El pez no conoce España. So you would use here conocer. ¿Sabes muchas canciones mexicanas? Do you know many Mexican songs? Meaning, do you know them by heart? Not you've heard them. That's why you use saber in here, because it is the information. El cangrejo, which means crab, no sabe leer en francés. The crab doesn't know how to read in French. To read is a skill. To read in French, it's a difficult skill. And the crab doesn't know how to do it, so you're using saber because it is a know-how. El pulpo y el camarón se conocen. This one, it looks like it's reflexive, but it is a reflexive pronoun that you use for mutual things. El pulpo y el camarón se conocen. The octopus and the shrimp know each other. So that se means not self, but each other. And then finally you have conocen Santiago and conocen a Santiago. So would you use, what's the difference? Why do you have that a? Well, the reason is that a is because one of the Santiagos is a name and one is a place. Conocen Santiago, in here, it is a place, Santiago. Conocen Santiago, are you physically familiar with Santiago? Have you been to Santiago? You use conocer, you do not need personal a, because Santiago cannot know you back. But if it's something alive that can do the same action back to you, to know you as well, that is a Santiago as a name. And then you need the personal a in here. And then you use the verb conocer. All right? I hope that was useful to you. And after practicing, when you're familiar with that, I'm going to show to you a few sayings that would use saber conocer and the character from this lesson. I hope it was useful to you. Please write to me if you have any other questions. Thank you very much. Okay, I promised to give you a couple of idiomatic expressions with the words that we learned today. With the pulpo, which is the octopus, and with the camarón, which is the shrimp. So let's take a look. We have here the expression camarón que se duerme se lo lleva la corriente, which means that shrimp that falls asleep is swept away by the current, which means that you cannot rest on your laurels, or that laziness or the sloth is the worst policy, and making an effort would be a good idea, like for example learning the verbs saber and conocer. So, camarón que se duerme se lo lleva la corriente. And then you have another good expression that is used mostly in Argentina, but it is used in Mexico as well, and it is understood in all Spanish-speaking countries. It is ser más difícil que ponerle el pantalón a un pulpo, which means something is extremely difficult. Something is as difficult as to put pants on an octopus, which you can imagine could be very, very difficult. All right, I hope you learned how to use the saber and conocer and a couple of colorful Spanish proverbs. We'll talk to you soon. Stay tuned for the next lesson. Thank you. Ciao.